Let's start. It must have been hard to work with Machiavellian leaders during this time, because at any given time, the risks of your life being taken, or you being removed, incarcerated, enslaved, were at a high stake. But where did Machiavelli saw so much evil? And we have to go back into analyzing Cesare Borgia, a man that Machiavelli seemed to admire. Well, Cesare Borgia was the illegitimate son of Pope Alexander VI. He was highly ambitious and ruthless. And as we all know, you cannot inherit being a pope. So Cesare had to find his way and how to acquire power. As a matter of fact, he wasn't the oldest. In order to be a successor of anything, including to climb the political structure of those times, his older brother was a threat. So Cesare decided to kill him. So what is Machiavelli looking at? He's seeing that if you behave in this way, and then as Cesare Borgia was doing all these criminal acts, he starts to see Cesare Borgia's success. So he started to observe that being treacherous and bad, as a matter of fact, comes with its reward if nobody knows you did it. What's more important is also analyzing Cesare Borgia's sister, which was always poisoning her friends. Quite a psychopath, right? Imagine day by day how that this structures your mind and your way of thinking. Because not only you observe that they can get away with murder, or they're climbing up in status and they're considered an elite and they get the high rewards with this. So Machiavelli, in his way of thinking, he must have challenged himself to think, well, I can see the difference of those that do good, and where does that take them? Nowhere. But yet I observe this kind of behavior, this ruthlessness, this goreness takes you to a higher position. But let's also face it, Machiavelli did not believe in heaven or hell. He did not believe in any deity. So for him, there was no moral compass. Like I said before, it was about living the present, getting what you need today, and getting them before they get you. And if you read The Prince as well, it's all about being an effective ruler. And being effective means that you don't need to romanticize. You must act upon. Completely different to any Plato, Socrates philosophy. This is the reason why The Prince perhaps is only 90 pages. It's a literally step-by-step guidebook on not only how to think, but how to act and be effective as a tyrant, ruler. But perhaps also is this book telling us that power really corrupts to the point where we must embrace the ugly truth of human governance, regardless of our moral and ethical compass. Because throughout history, we noted that I would say roughly 98% of rulers have had a hidden agenda. Take, for instance, the Catholic Church during those times. They monopolized literature. And what did this do? It kept everyone from understanding and knowing more to make better decisions for themselves, for their family, and also how to obtain power and wealth for hundreds of years. So the tyrannical man, it's all about accruing more because there's never enough. So Machiavelli teaches us two fundamental core values on his book, The Prince. The first one, which is something you probably heard before, it is better to be feared than loved. And Machiavelli is very practical with this state, because you can always count on fear, but can you count on love? How many people have loved and still betrayed? How many people have loved and then that love fades? So love is an emotion, especially if you haven't learned the difference between making a decision to love and just loving just to feel good, which are two different things. When you make a decision of loving, that means that you're willing to take all the sacrifices and commitment and responsibilities that come during the good and bad of enduring that love, as opposed to when you decide to love just for the immediate gratification of love, that nice feeling, those nice moments. But yet, when the ugly times come, your heart gets corrupted, dismissive, and leaves. So Machiavelli knew very well that fear is something you can count on. Because think about it. If you feared, you will have somebody's attention. You will be on your guard. You will be defensive, but not defensive to attack, but defensive to keep yourself hiding, intimidated, silent. And I will explain a little bit about this concept of it's rather to be loved than feared. Because fear is what has kept us in survival mode for so long, and it's always present. Love, on the other hand, is not always present. And what I mean about this, it's not about that you stop loving someone. No. What I'm trying to say here is fear is something that we consistently have every day. So Machiavelli understood anxiety and depression. Because think about it, we're talking about these dark times where all you saw was injustice. All you saw were those individuals that reached to the top, taking advantage of those that didn't have anything. They were powerless. And when somebody feels powerless, wouldn't you be depressed of thinking that your life doesn't have any value? Or wouldn't you be anxious about what would I eat tomorrow? Would I be alive the next day if I don't obey to the rulers of the day? So Machiavelli understood this very well, and he saw it probably every time he walked around the city of Florence. And then think about it. Also, love is conditional, and it's also unreliable because it requires empathy. And let's say you make a mistake as a ruler. Will the people continue to love you in the same way? As we see, when things get uncomfortable, people tend to leave the leaders they once loved. And also, if there's no vulnerability and reciprocity, using love as a leader is not going to take you that far, because you're always depending on others to reciprocate what you give. And also, if you don't deliver, that also brings down not only the popularity, but also will bring down how much they care about what you do and what you say.